Alrighty, my friends. So here's a little bit about human design and how you can use human design to have a fun little introspection activity with yourself. It doesn't require any money or you to go anywhere. All it requires is a piece of paper and something colorful to write with, a crayon or a colored pencil or a marker, whatever you prefer, and your human design chart, which you can run for free in a ton of different places. I love using the website that's www.hum as in Mark, D as in dog, ES as in Sam.com. HUMDES.com. And I call it humdes.com. I'm sure they hate that. Who knows? But it's like this really powerful website that allows you to run your own chart, but it also runs gene keys. It also runs like you can run daily human design charts, like energetic charts against your chart to see how that changes every day. You can run other people's charts if you have their information and combine those charts to see how they connect and interact with you. It's a great website. Love it. So if you haven't run your human design chart and you're open to it, check out human design, know what you're getting yourself into, go run your chart, and then you can do this exercise. And many others to come because I'm making these up and they're so much fun. So I do them myself and then I share them with you. And I would love to know if you did the activity and if you liked it, what you liked about it, how you would improve it, how we could do it better next time, what you learned about yourself. I love it. Send me all the details. Okay. So I have not figured out how I'm going to show you this. So I will do a quick and dirty show on this video, and then I will drop in some slides that are better pictures of these. But basically, this is the activity, and it is a take on that old board game we played as kids, the Chutes and Ladders, or the they call them a lot of different things, like the snakes and the somethings. Anyways, it's kind of like imagining the rivers and the roads of your life. So on your human design chart, on the right-hand side, there are the black numbers, and those represent your personality, your defined energies around what you're conscious of. And then on the left-hand side, there are the red numbers that are associated with your unconscious, that are based on 3 months before your birth, whereas your personality or your conscious numbers associated with gates are part of your conscious. So red, black, unconscious, conscious, personality. So the black side, those represent gates that cover traits and gifts about yourself that you are aware of. And in this activity, we are going to take a look at any of the channels that you have that are defined and that are conscious. So you can look at your channels, which again, this is not an instruction video on human design, but just to make sure we're talking about the same thing. The channels are when you have two gates that are both defined, regardless of whether or not they're black or red, but they create a solid line, a colored in line between two gates. So for example, if you had gate 18, but you didn't have gate 58, that is not a channel. That's a hanging gate because you have gate 18, but you don't have 58 to complete the channel. So this is an activity that helps you learn about your channels in your chart and what that means about you. It's one thing to look at your channels and to like read about it, but it's another thing to actually integrate it to your understanding about yourself and the language that you use when you talk about yourself, verbally with other people, but also internally when you talk to yourself about yourself. And if you don't talk to yourself, then you're probably not ready for this video yet. There comes a point in your life when you realize that the inner voice inside you is you, and it's a dialogue with your soul. And so when you're talking to yourself, sometimes you get to see all of your soul, and sometimes you're just arguing with your own mind. And this is one of the wonderful experiences of being human. But not everybody is aware of all of that happening necessarily, communication internally and externally. So just putting it out there. If you have no idea what it is I'm talking about, it won't hurt my feelings if you just go somewhere else. But for the rest of you that are still with me, these channels are super, super important in terms of us being able to understand how to show up for ourselves in life and how to identify the patterns that we may be experiencing that are holding us back from having the relationships we want to have, having access to the resources we want to have, and just being able to wake up in the morning and feel like you know who you are and that you are in a place that you are meant to be, and that like you're excited about like the next prospects of your life, because everyone should be able to experience that. It doesn't matter what your circumstances are. It doesn't matter what you did, where you came from, what you got. Every single person can access this if they choose to and are able to find the tools available to them that are needed for their healing process to work for them, which is different for everyone. So I talked a lot before I got to the activity, but that's the why. That's why this activity matters, because if you can learn more about things that are prominent in your human design chart, then you can shift some of the things that would make the biggest difference in your life, by having some introspection and reflection about whether or not that's true in your chart and how it shows up in your life, if it shows up, and why you make the decisions you make that you have been making over and over and over that mean that you are either continuing to show up for yourself and living the best life available to your genetic makeup and energetic imprint, or not. And if you're not, it gives you like hard, like solid tactics to deploy so that you can begin to feel like you're moving towards living that life and or just living it. So I have quite a few channels in my chart. It is not a competition to have channels or not to have channels. And if you have a lot of channels, that's great. If you have no channels and you're a reflector, that's great too. If you are a reflector and you want to do this activity, I would love for you to pick channels that you are experiencing right now in your life in like a major phase kind of way. Because as you know, and everybody else should also know, everybody has all of the channels in human design. And so even if you don't have channels, you will have gates So reflectors, you can also interpret this if you have a gate that is prominently showing up in your life. You can decide that your rivers and roads are metaphors for your gates instead. And, pick the gates in your incarnation cross. So those would be the gates associated with your sun and earth signs, which are your top 2 planets in your human design chart. So on the right-hand side and the left-hand side, the top 2 gates, reflectors, you could just pick those and do this activity and get like potentially even more out of it. I have some other activities around incarnation crosses, but incarnation crosses are really powerful. And once you learn what you learn, you can't unlearn it. And everyone could do some work on their incarnation crosses. Okay, so I have a couple of different defined channels, like I said. I have 4 defined channels. So I was able to put all 4 of mine on one piece of paper. But if you have 6 defined channels, I don't even know if that's possible. I'm sure it is. Then you can, get a bigger piece of paper, or you can split them and do them, half on this side, on half on another piece of paper. I wouldn't do it front and back, just in case you do want to put them on display and see them together for any reflection periods. The bells that you may hear in the background is my cat Gizmo, and he's hanging out with us today. Okay, so I talked about the 5818. I do have that channel defined. And so what I do is, and this is just because it was fun for me, if it is a channel that is associated with my conscious gates, then I used the color black to draw a channel. So I basically did a rectangle across the piece of paper for the conscious ones. For the unconscious ones, and so those are roads, because roads are straight like rectangles. And then the rivers are the unconscious channels that I have. And so I did like a wave, and I used a red color instead of black. So I have red rivers and black roads. And for one of my channels, I have it both. So it has both the conscious and the unconscious defined. And that's for my gate 58. So for my 5818, it's mostly a road, except a part of it is like a river. So I do a rectangle for my roads, and then I do a river for my rivers. And as I'm drawing this, I am looking up what these gates mean. I'm looking up what these channels mean. And I'm just free-flowing writing all over that road, or writing all over that river. And it's just whatever it means to me, right? It doesn't need to be scientific. The value of this is not the final product, I promise you, of this artwork. It's not going to sell. This is not the way to making money fast, guys. But what it is it's getting your mind thinking about, is this true? Do I have this trait? When do I do these things? When it describes this particular gate. So for 58, I also noted, or for all of the gates, I also noted which center they're associated with in human design. So the gate 58 is associated with the root center, and it is considered an energy gate. And it's called improving patterns. And it has the energy of enthusiasm. The overall channel is the channel of judgment, 5818. The 18 gate comes from the spleen. And It is considered the desire for wholeness. And again, this just comes from the Karen Curry Parker book, the older one that's kind of like an encyclopedia about the gates and what they mean and the channels and what they mean. And I recommend checking out all types of different sources on this just to see what resonates with you, because different language is going to hit you as a yes. And something else that means the exact same thing but uses another type of language may not have that same impact on you. And the goal is not for you to get as many yeses as possible, but it's for you to get clarity about what's really true for you. And these are things that if you just looked inside, you wouldn't find them. So it's things that you have to learn about in the outside world and then try to apply inside. And through that application of trying to understand, that's when you actually start to get the understanding. And so this is the channel of judgment. And then I wrote down what that channel feels like, because a lot of these descriptions will tell you what that channel feels like. It's easy to talk about it in the head and write about what it is. It's called the channel of judgment. It's associated with 5818 coming out of the root and the spleen. But what does it feel like? It feels like perfectionism. Ooh, yep, that rings true for me. And once you get to know me more, you'll see how dangerous this channel has been in my life. Because this is a channel that, as I've learned through human design, is extremely powerful, but it's a collective channel, which means you do not want to use it on yourself or against your loved ones. And I have used it on myself and against my loved ones my whole life, unconsciously. But it's a mostly conscious channel. So I was choosing not to see how judgmental I am towards other people and how much of a perfectionist I expect myself to be. And when I started to shift that in my world, which frankly I've been working on since before I found human design, once I really started to shift that, that's when I started to heal from my depression and start to experience more joy in my life. Like straight up, just trying to let go and surrender and not be perfect and not expect myself to be perfect and not expect other people to be perfect. And this is my only one of 4 channels, guys. Here we go. Okay, so the next channel, I'm going to go a little bit more quickly through these, just because I don't want to. We got time. There's more things to do in this life than listen to this lady talk, but I want to change your life. So I'm going to keep going just a little bit to see what else pops out of this. It's changing my life, reflecting on it as well, as I am building new businesses right now. And inner work is so vital when you're trying to build a business. You can't make any wrong assumptions. Otherwise, you pay for it financially like 6 months later. It's a very painful process. Okay. So my next channel. Oh, wait. Well, one more thing on the channels. So not only do we want to talk about what it feels like, we also need to talk about what we do to work with it. So like, yes, perfectionism is not the right answer, but what is the elevated experience of that? So if I'm no longer forcing that energy inward or on my loved ones in terms of judgment, and I reflect it to the collective instead. And what I mean by collective is just the outer world, the public that doesn't know me personally, the impersonal experience of the world, and my opinion about my own personal society and what it's doing and how well it's doing in this world. So once I start to judge society, essentially, And I'm not judging my neighbors. I'm not judging a part of society that I don't like because it reminds me of my past or anything like that. It's because I am judging society for producing a great experience for society members or not, in general, everybody. What are my opinions about that? When I judge society and I tell society and I tell other people what I think about society in general and what we could be doing differently as humans or Americans or whatever, women, um, when I talk about it in those terms and I apply that judgment and what I know about the world and how it works and how it could work, that's when I get to experience the higher level of that channel. And so that channel is wisdom. Duh. When I stop judging myself and the people that I know and love personally, and I stop taking life so personally, and I'm able to share my reflections of my own life experiences on society and project potential, like, positive future visions for society and share those, it sounds like wisdom. So I'm so pleased with myself right now, not because I have this channel, but because I feel like that was a really good demonstration of how your channels are impacting you in your life and how you can look at each channel and say, how am I living it in my lowest self? When and it may not be directing it at you personally or your other people. These channels are complicated, right? That's a projecting channel, I believe. And if somebody knows more about this, please share some information. But I have to double check. Yeah, actually, I did make a note of this because all of my channels, even though I'm a manifester, my channels are projector energy channels, which means I have to be invited in to share that wisdom. So that's the other piece. You can look at these channels not just to say what it is, and certainly not to say I'm limited and I can't be successful in this world because I have this channel. No, it is I have been allowing this channel to use me. Instead, I need to use this channel in its highest self. So learn about your channels. Find out if they're projected channels. Find out if they're generator channels. You might be needing to be doing something like, and you're just not doing it. And you don't even know you're supposed to be doing it, but your design needs you to be doing it in order for you to experience that next level of satisfaction or success or peace or whatever your ideal success feels like based on your energy type. Mine is peace for being a manifester. And that felt so right when I learned that. Anyways, I'll talk about that in another video. My next channel. Well, let me stop for just a second and say that there are other exercises that I'll bring up later that help you dive into all of these details. So don't feel overwhelmed. But if you're like, oh, give me more right now, it's cool to look at categories of channels to see how many channels you have that are considered a generator channel or a manifesting generator channel or a projected channel. Or the other types of categories that you can look at are whether or not it's an individual channel. It's meant for you to be focused on yourself and selfish, as people would say, but that's how it's intended to be used. And if you're using it on other people, then it's not ever going to be reflected in its highest energy. Others are like, so that would be individual. I already talked about collective. And then the third one in that category is tribal. So tribal would be like within your family unit, your direct friends, the people who do know you excuse me, personally, and who you take life personally with that tribe. And those channels are supposed to be used on your family and for your family and for the benefit of your tribe. And when you try to use them on society in general, they don't work. And when you try to use them on yourself, they don't work. So if you can learn the different aspects, and all of this information is strewn out there, you'll find it on your journey. But I do recommend picking up a couple of books on human design if you're digging into it, and really want to get into those different categories of channels. And the reason is because it can help you really orient yourself to how your energy works and what types of invitations are right for you, whether or not you're a projector, because we all get to respond to invitations. What types of things are right for you to start, what types of things are right for you to finish, what type of things are right for you to say or not say or whatever. And none of it is meant to be restrictive. It's meant to help you pinpoint what that sweet spot looks and feels like for you specifically as a human being. Okay, so I have 3 more channels, and I'm just feeling like this isn't the time to go into that. So I feel like I basically just described how to do this exercise, and then basically just rinse and repeat. So I will quickly just tell you what mine are, just because I primed it and you might be curious to know as you continue to get to know me. But my other channels are 1648, which is the channel of depth. Shocker. And that's spleen, gate 16 to gate 48 in the throat. And this is a manifesting channel. Anything that connects to the throat manifests into the world. And so that's manifesting intuition. It means for me that I desire to have an inspiring job, and that is confirmed by the nearly 20 years that I've spent in the nonprofit industry, inspiring people to donate their money, time, blood, all of the resources that they have in the world to other people and other causes. So I'm not shocked about that. And gate 16 is the gate, has the energy of competence. And gate 48 has the gift of deep understanding. So it looks like natural talent, and it looks like I'm good at everything, which is crazy to me because I don't believe that. Like, I don't see it. I do not feel like I am good at everything by any means. I feel like I am barely good at most things. Like, I would describe myself as a, jack of all trades, master of none. And the fun thing for me is this channel, unlike my judgment channel, which is mostly conscious, is this channel is completely unconscious. So, like, look at the experience of me. I'm like, this is not true, but it also is something that's unconscious. And if it were truly not true of me, I would have learned that when I told other people that I think that that other people seem to think that I'm naturally talented at things, and talking to someone who's honest with me, they would confirm, oh, I see you that way, but no, I don't see you as good at everything. No, definitely not. But the thing is, I've had feedback in my life that was confusing to me, that said that they thought that I was good at everything. And people don't understand why I have struggles in life, because they think that everything is so easy for me. And that is mind-boggling to me, because that has not felt like my experience, even though that's what other people seem to project on me in terms of what they think my experience has been when they learn about me and my life and see me doing things for the first time. So when that is in its highest self, this is a projected channel. So I have to be invited to try things and look impressive when I'm trying it for the first time. If I just show up and I'm like, oh, I'm always good at everything, people are going to be like, oh, goodness, and not want to have anything to do with this. And the energy is not going to flow. So that's channel number 2. Channel number 3, which is also unconscious, is 2644. And this is from the spleen to the heart, will center, heart center, will center. And it is called, I didn't actually write it, but I know that it happens to be the channel of sales. There are other names out there because there are multiple names for all of these channels, based on who you're talking to. But basically, here it is. It's the channel of surrender. Of course I didn't want it because surrendering is hard. But it looks like sales. And so gate 26 is the gift of persuasion, and gate 44 is the interaction energy. Gate of vigilance. And what this looks like is it's an inspiration gate. It's working with people, or inspiration channel. And it means that I'm really good at sales. In the lowest reflection, it is giving away my power, manipulating other people for material gain. So these are the used cars salesmen that everybody hates, that nobody wants to learn anything about sales and marketing because they're afraid they're going to become this horrible thing that sucks the soul and resources from everything around them. I have that channel too. And I've seen it used horribly by other people in my own life against me, who also must have had that channel. My own mother. We'll get to that one another day. But this channel, when it's being used selfishly and not for the benefit of other people, it is a tribal channel. So this channel is meant to be used personally with the people that you know and love. And it's not for society. It's not for you to use within yourself to become the most wealthy person in the whole wide world and have all the sales that you could ever need. It is truly about relationships. It is saying, I present info to the world, and I am going to persuade you of things that I truly think would be really good for you because I know you really well and I want the best for you. When you approach the channel of surrender to that and you say, I don't have control of the resources in this world, and I'm going to do the right thing, and I'm going to take care of people, and I'm going to connect people who need resources to the resources that they need, that's when the magic happens with the sales channel, with the channel of surrender. And then my next channel is, and this is my last channel, and this one is conscious. So this is a channel according to human design that I should be aware of in my own behavior patterns in my life, in a significant way. And I didn't tell you about all my sales history, but as a fundraiser in the nonprofit world, that's the role of sales, is doing fundraising. So I did that for 15-ish years. And yeah, your girl's a sales girl, but I'm the right kind. Don't hate on me. I really do try to make sure it's a win-win-win-win-win-win-win so that the resources are going in the places that they can be used the best, the most efficiently, and make the biggest impact. And the people that are getting them have the greatest need and will use it in all of those ways. And will pay the right price for it, right? Because everything has value, and that value needs to shift accordingly, and nothing is for free. So that's a marketing lesson. We'll talk another day. That's another channel I got going. Okay, so my last channel is, I couldn't make this shit up, man. The channel of acceptance. It's 1762. And it's all about big picture foresight and recognizing patterns and organizing patterns. Channel 17 comes from the ajna, so it's a mental manifesting channel. It goes mental to throat, ajna to throat. And gate 62 is the details gate and gift of far seeing. 17 is the opinions gate. I know. If you know me, this girl has some opinions. I also am obsessed with details and lots of details, but not in the ways that anybody ever wants me to be. Because it's the details about the why. And that's my manifesterness coming out. But anyways, back to the channel of acceptance. So with this channel, in the lowest sense, it is feeling frustrated, losing credibility. The channel is another projecting channel. So it's another thing where I just have to wait for the invitation, wait for the right timing, divine timing, not rushing in, not jumping in and being the loudest one in the room kind of deal. And it's collective energy. So it is, again, similar to my first two channels. So I have 3 channels that are collective and 1 channel that's tribal. I got no individual channels going on in here. It's an interesting experience, I'm not going to lie. So that means that this channel, the channel of acceptance, is something that speaks to the collective and what we do well as a society. It's something that I cannot and should not project inward towards myself and say, you must accept things the way they are or else, because then I go into depression. And also, I can't force others to accept things that I know and love, like personally, that I'm interacting with. I can't even force a stranger to do it, frankly. There's no forcing in it, but the channel should not be directed inward or towards my tribe. When I am talking about what society is doing well and what society could do differently and what I can do differently as a part of society overall to do things and improve them, that's when it's time to accept. And it's forcing an acceptance of this is what is. This is what is currently. We can't delude ourselves anymore. And it really speaks into my incarnation cross of 62 right there, shocker, of breaking the illusion for people, showing people the illusions of our lives that we're living. And I have used this on myself and other people in the past in a very forceful, controlling way, because I needed to know that the future was going to work out. And the only way I could do that was by controlling it and forcing acceptance of things that were not true. I thought they were true, but they were not. And those are things like, I'll be happy when I'm rich. Yeah, so we can get into that stuff in the shadow work, but I am thrilled to report that I have somehow managed to make it to the end of this activity, and empower you. Hopefully I've empowered you to create your own rivers and roads experience of just drawing your channels and what that looks like in your mind. Mine came out to rivers and roads, and my cat helped with this piece over here. So the rivers and roads, draw them out. Write down the words that mean something to you when you're reading it. Integrate it to yourself. Tell somebody else about it. Make it part of your understanding of yourself so that you can start to catch yourself when you fall into old patterns and say, oh, that's that channel. Ah, this isn't working right now because I'm using it on myself. I should stop that. Okay, cool. Clearing that and going forward, I feel much better because I'm no longer doing X, Y, or Z to myself. And now my mind can be more positive about that next situation because I am more empowered and I have a more clear view and clear vision about what's actually happening. So yeah, enjoy. Thank you.